Welcome, everybody. Hello, Body Freedom Podcast in the house. So excited to talk to you today about a common theme that we've been going through, which is a quantum leap year. Specifically, I want to talk about how to handle an emotional meltdown during your quantum leap year when you are in a place of your health and your relationship with food and a weight loss journey. And you are really in a place of this is not just the year that I go, "Okay, let me twiddle my thumbs a little bit," but you actually are like, "This is it. I am ready for my quantum leap year." Then what you want to know is you're literally telling your subconscious brain, the part of your brain that wants to keep you safe and alive, the part of your brain that keeps you stuck right where you're at, keeps you right at the status quo. You are literally telling that part of your brain like business, okay? And I'm really excited to share with you the reason why we're talking about this emotional meltdown today is because it is a very personal story of my emotional meltdown that happened just a few days ago. It was Friday last week, and it was huge. And why do we want to talk about that? Again, when I'm sitting here telling the part of my brain that keeps me stuck, that keep tries to keep me safe and alive, that keeps me stuck at the status quo, that I am making the most epic changes in my life, whether you like it or not. And there's more to that, whether you like it or not. We'll get into that. But what is absolutely bound to happen is that this part of you, this part of your self that keeps you status quo and stuck is going to throw a shit fit and it is going to rear up and how do you say rear its ugly head and will start to make more noise. And I think that this is an important conversation to have whenever we understand that we're making changes, like real legit changes. It matters that we understand that part of making changes is the emotional meltdown, is the thoughts in our head that basically just try to keep us stuck. And so that can come out in a lot of ways. It started last week for me where I am starting to go I am for my own quantum leap year, let me just tell you about how it's going. I am about a month in or more actually, feels like a month and a half. I can't remember when the new moon was on in December of 2023. But new moon is when it's completely dark outside. It's a really great time to manifest and to get clear about what it is that you want for yourself and your life. And so I feel like it was mid-December. I feel like this is and the reason why this is important is because the very first step in having this big giant shift and change in your life, in your health, in your weight loss journey, in your vibrancy, in your energy, all of these things that you're trying to create and quite frankly, so am I. You first have to claim it. You have to feel the desire for that. You have to sense the thing that's missing and then envision what you actually desire instead. Okay. And so I started this process, and inside of Hello Body Freedom with our clients, we also started this process. I've been keeping them like up in it along with me. We started about the same time, which was end of December, maybe mid December inside of Hello Body Freedom. But this is the first part. So, in terms of my journey, this was first. And even if you want to really go deeper into understanding what a quantum leap year looks like and feels, go back 2 episodes where I first started talking about it. And we talk about this very first part because what I'm really doing is I am making a pact with my future self. I am sitting here going, this matters so much to me that me figuring out how to see that desire that I have, which doesn't exist right now, but is my future self. And this is a huge piece of it, okay? And I'll tell you, after making this claim, after holding my ground, after really shouting from the mountaintops my desires and what I'm really wanting to get out of that status quo, to stop self sabotaging, to get out of my own way. And you can go back and listen to last week's because I talk all about the beginning parts of mine. But all I want to do right now is give a little update for you is that once I claimed that, then the end of December, the next, like, week or so, 2 weeks, whatever that might have been, you're, like, stuck right in the holiday season. In our family, we had a legit mental health crisis inside of our family that really family units, man. One person has a major crisis, it affects everybody, and so that felt really dark and murky times, like, when I think back to that, and I know that my work for this coming holiday season, 12 months from now, is to get into a place of not re-looping shitty thoughts and behaviors because of how kind of intense this past one was, but really continuing to reclaim, no, the holiday season can be wonderful. We can still enjoy that. But that's a different story. I don't want to get into that. We'll talk about that come the holiday season. Okay. But for now, what I want you to know is that it did feel murky. It felt dark, like meaning that when I'm sitting here claiming what I want, what I'm really claiming is the attitude and the thoughts and the emotions and the behaviors of my future self. And ideally, when we start to understand the dissonance between who I want to be and what it takes to get there, and then the behaviors, thoughts, and emotions I'm feeling right now, there's space. And ultimately, the way that we get to our future self is starting to act as if this person already is alive and real and exists. And you just continually pull and pull on that energy. Okay. So it was really challenging for the first few weeks, but I held on to it, man. I held on to my vision, even though, and I was really myself. That's the other thing. There was a lot of compassion going, okay, I know that I wanna start these behaviors. I know that I wanna step into this, and it did but I just kept the vision. That's the very first piece of this update that I have for you. And then it started to happen slowly and slowly. So, for instance, there are 3 places I'm working. So, inside of my relationship with Josh, really getting to that quantum leap level connectedness. I don't even know if it's possible. I've never had it before, not at the level that I think he and I both want or desire. So, that feels scary. I've never done that before with my business, right? Again, I shared this last week, but it's this kind of status quo where it's been sitting at about the same place since 2020. Not growing, not shrinking, just like doing this, where the truth of the matter is what we do inside Hello Body Freedom like changes fucking lives in a huge, massive way. Not just in a, oh, look at my new healthy habits and my new weight loss. I get that's what we want. But when you are inside of Hello Body Freedom, what I hear over and over again with our clients, it's like, what we really talk about is the real stuff, the deep stuff, which we're gonna get into today with my emotional meltdown. We're getting there. They talk about how the weight and the energy and the lifestyle, they're like, "The only reason I have this is because of this deeper work I've been doing." This outer appearance of energy and weight loss, it is the byproduct of doing this deeper work. And I know it. And I know it from a business standpoint. And so it really matters to me to quantum leap this business in a meaningful way. And I have never done that before, not in my fitness and nutrition company in Silicon Valley that I sold in 2015, late 2015. There definitely was quantum leaps there. So I think that I have some sort of idea, but nothing to the degree of what I'm desiring for Hello Body Freedom, right? So these are 2 places. And then the 3rd place where I'm really spending a lot of time sharing what we're doing, and I'll share for all of them if you guys want to. Just drop me a DM, drop me a Facebook message, drop me an Instagram message, drop me a TikTok message. I'm in all 3 places. Let me know if you want more of this. I will happily dive into, but where we're really diving into is with my health and my body. That also has felt like kinda autopilot. And there are reasons why. These are the 3 categories of my life where I am really, like, double down, tripling down, and really claiming that quantum leap, all right? And so, again, the first few weeks were murky, but I'm holding on to the desires, and then I start noticing that the habits that I knew intuitively that I wanted to move forward with on all of these planes. So, like for Josh and I, it's date night and it's also a money date night. So, 2 separate date nights. It's more rest and relaxation. For the business, it's way more showing up on social media. So, the podcast inside of Instagram and Facebook, TikTok, all the places, like really consistently there. And with my body, strength training, exercise, like I have a whole step by step process. If you want it, if you want my entire step-by-step process and how you can have a quantum year, all you have to do is put in the comments right here, put in drop a DM, drop me a Instagram or in Facebook or in TikTok, anywhere, we're everywhere. And then you just write the words quantum year. That's it, quantum year. And then I will send it over to you. It is a link. It is a training that I will send you of step by step of how you really truly get into this. Okay. Now, things started working and it started feeling good. I'm like, "Oh my god, I said I was gonna get up at 5:45 every morning to get to my 6:15 work." Not every morning, sorry. 3 days a week, and it's so amazing when you say you're gonna do a thing and you do it, and you say you're gonna do a thing and you do it. And when you do that, this is the definition of how we start to build self-esteem. And as you keep doing the thing you say you're gonna do, this is what starts to build confidence. So it's very important that you're choosing things that that you're choosing the right thing. So for instance, what most of us do is we want to lose weight. And then you choose, I'm going to follow a diet like to the T. I'm going to follow it specifically. And then I feel good about myself. The problem with that is that you're following the wrong thing. 90 to 97% of all weight loss diets fail, meaning that even if you follow it to the T and you lose weight, you'll end up gaining it back. And how many of you actually know that experience? I talk to literally thousands of women every single year. And it is quite frankly the same story. We're talking like 80 to 90% of every woman, and I'm talking thousands, I get on the phone with or on Zoom and we have conversations or in the DM. And this is their story over and over again, okay? And it's clearly you're doing the wrong thing. So that's the wrong action, the wrong behavior. So we want to make sure we're doing right actions and right behavior. So if you are wanting that quantum leap year, this year right now, I'm telling you, now is the time. Drop me a DM, quantum leap, put it in the comments or drop me a DM and I will send you this training. It's very special. It's very epic. I'm super excited for you. Okay, let's get back to the story because it starts working. And when it starts working and when you are going in the right direction and you are habit stacking in a way that you are doing the things you say you're going to do, it starts to feel good and starts to feel better. And this is what I've been doing, like for real. And it's been feeling like these first few weeks, it started feeling good. Now, I'm going to go ahead and give you the first 3 steps, right? I have my notebooks, all the things that I keep all my information in. So the very first step is the mindset stuff. So I already gave you a ton of that 2 episodes down where I start talking about future pacing, right? Your future self. You can go into that as well. All right. So how we start working with our thoughts, like when I said I claimed it on the new moon, you don't have to claim it on the new moon in December, right? For it to happen, but you do have to have some part of you that can visualize and witness I'm not where I wanna be. I might not know how to get to where I wanna go. But if we don't see that, like, living in that future self is the only option to feel high vibrant and healthy and to really truly go on that sustainable weight loss journey, not because it's some woo idea in our head, but because, like, pedal to the metal, feet to the pavement, taking the steps forward to make this happen is your truth. There is no other answer but to get there, but to get out of prediabetes or diabetes, to get my blood numbers, get all of that like in a healthy level, feel vibrant and alive, right? Get to go shopping for clothes at stores that make me feel good. Do you know what I mean? And so this matters. So the very first step is mindset, right? The second step, we already talked about it a little bit, but when you're taking the wrong action of deciding that going on a super restrictive diet or trying to hit the gym like 3 hours a day when you haven't exercised a day in your life. These are surefire ways and the types of habits that will end up spiraling you back to where you started. So that is not where to start. So then the second part of this is really breaking up with diets and dieting and diet culture because you have a real fucked up relationship with food. And the reason you do it's not your fault. It's just because diets and toxic diet culture literally just lead to that. It's a hot mess express. It messes with your psychology, your emotions, it messes with you even believing you know what to do for yourself because you're following 20 different diets that you think work and then you gain the weight back. It's just a disaster, right? And then the third part, and this is what we want to dive into today. And again, I have everything laid out in 10 different like steps. I'm handing you the first 3. So if you want all of them, quantum leap, knock it out of the park, y'all. Let's make this happen. All right. Now, here's the situation. The third one is untangle all the reasons you're eating when you're not hungry. Untangling all the reasons you're eating when you're not hungry. And so what does that really mean? What that means is that you have a million reasons why you eat besides physical hunger. You eat when you're happy, you eat when you're sad, you eat when you're kind of exhausted at the end of the day, you eat because you need a break and gosh darn it, you deserve a break. You bust ass, you work hard, and this food is my break, right? You eat because it tastes good. You eat because you go to Costco and they happen to be giving out samples and you just decide that's fun and I'm going to eat for this reason. You overeat because you're eating a meal and then it just tastes so good that you just keep eating and keep eating. Oh, that tastes so good. You eat when you're lonely. You eat when you're stressed. You eat when you're anxious. And I'm not saying you eat every single time, but I'm putting out the word you as like an idea of all these different ways. And the truth of the matter is that what we have is we have really strong habit loops for when we feel a certain way in our body. What is a feeling? An emotion. We feel a certain way in the body, right? And that certain way of feeling, it's an inner experience. It includes thoughts, it includes emotions, it includes sensations in the body. This is the inner experience of the body. And I'm not going to get into all the science behind it, but ultimately, at some point in your past, either in childhood or adulthood, it doesn't really matter when, but it matters that you learned that when you feel this kind of inner experience that isn't comfortable and even boredom. Let's talk about oh, I just eat because I'm bored. I hear that all the time. Boredom is an inner experience, y'all. It's an emotion, sensation, thought combo. You're having thoughts about it that you don't like. It doesn't feel good. And right. And you've learned that when you eat, eating cures boredom. Well, no, eating's the most epic answer when you're actually hungry. But just because you're bored doesn't mean that you're hungry, you're just bored. And so cleaning up the reasons why you're eating, and what does that mean? That means working with your inner experience. That means working with your thoughts, your emotions, and the sensations in your body in a way so you are able to tolerate a little bit more so that you don't go do the self sabotaging behaviors. Okay. Those are your first three things. There are a million of them, not a million. There's 10 steps that I've laid out like clearly and plainly here inside of this quantum leap. If you want it, DM quantum leap, baby. It's all you got to do. But these first three are like forever. From the moment you start, you will be working on your mindset. You will be working on future pacing over and over again. From the very beginning, you're going to be working on the psychological untangling of however many years you've been caught in diets and dieting in the diet culture. If you've never been on a diet in your life, then you can skip that part probably. But my guess is you wouldn't be listening to this if you haven't tried to lose weight in some epic sort of way. And then the third part is really untangling that inner experience so that you're not self sabotaging. All right. So those are your three. I have a whole lot more. If you want them, let me know how you can also have that quantum leap year. But what I want to tell you is that what happened for me as I'm moving forward, as it will for you, as you move forward in right actions, behaviors, right thoughts, right emotions, all those things, y'all, here came the self sabotage. It was just it's almost like I just woke up on the wrong side of the bed. That I cannot explain it any other way. It happened Friday, which was today. I record this on a Tuesday, so this was like 5 days ago. But it was intense. I was sitting at work, and remember, I have actions that I have to do. Okay. And actions in my relationship, actions in my business. And the main action that really triggered me, this is so vulnerable. Maybe you don't think it's vulnerable, but for me, I'm like, I'm just really putting it out there is that I have only one action I am supposed to do every day for my work job. Now, I have a ton of responsibilities at work, I have a lot on my plate. But from a standpoint of moving my business forward, there's just one thing I'm supposed to do every single day, and that is publish on social media. That's it. Publish, that's it. And then it could be simple, it could be like whatever the thing is. And I have a calendar that I'm looking at. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you're literally I'm staring above you because there's my calendar. And it's a red X that I have to put in my calendar. And I'm like, this is easy. It's in front of me every day. I could just knock this out in the first part of my day. I'm going to get better and better at it. And of all the habits, because remember, I have three different places I'm working, right? In my relationship, in my business, and with my body. Everything else is rocking and slaying it, except for that one thing I'm supposed to do with my business. And I sat down on Friday and I had all of this anxiety come up for me. And I'm like, the only thing I had to do all week long is just do this one thing. And so all the negative self talk just started streaming in and streaming in. And then I sit down, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So then I have this other part of me that's, let's just do it. Let's just do it. And then as I was trying to figure it out, have you guys gone down like internet, like rabbit holes? That's what I did. Instead of just sitting down and writing and, like, hitting publish or making a quick little video and hitting publish, which I've done a million times before, this anxiety just started, like, I can't even yes, I can, I'm gonna explain it. It was like butterflies in my stomach and real tightness in my solar plexus and tightness in my chest. It was so tight. It was incredible tension. And this included horrible thoughts because I kept, and it also started with a little dissociation as well, like where as I would start to write, as I would start to figure something out, then what I would do is I would go down a rabbit hole of, "Well, the problem is I don't have the right technology to auto publish this thing on social media." And so then I'd go down a 3-hour like rabbit hole of figuring out what's the right technology and I must not have the right one, which by the way is full blown self sabotage. And so as the day kept going, now it's 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I have not connected to my clients, which feels awful when I love connecting with my clients because I said the only thing I have to do is publish this thing. And I just couldn't do it. I started, like, making something, and then I'd try to edit it, and then I'd get lost down this track, and then finally, I just started crying and wailing like a baby. And oh my goodness, it was intense. So it started as agitation, it started as frustration. And then I just started to realize I'm literally getting in my own way. It would be like so I want to be really clear in terms of my body and in terms of my epic year, there are 10 steps to getting there, one, two, and three. We talked about mindset as one, future pacing, right? Which is epic. And then the second one is getting out of diet culture. And then the third one is untangling the reasons why you eat, right? For me, when I feel this intense inner experience in my body, I don't eat anymore. I don't drink alcohol. I don't go eat. I don't go shopping. I don't do any of those things. Okay. And those two behaviors out of diet culture and really working with my inner experience so I don't eat. In terms of my body, quantum leap, I've got those handled. Now, I'll tell you for your quantum leap, for the clients that come into Hello Body Freedom, numbers 1, 2, and 3 that I talked about and broke down, you don't stop doing it. Meaning that from day 1 of your epic quantum leap year to day 365, this is an ongoing part. All of it is working, like, psychologically as you untangle the beliefs you have around food and dieting, as you untangle your inner experience and eating, you untangle overeating, stress eating, anxious eating, you untangle that from your inner experience, okay? I think that a year is the most epic amount. It doesn't mean that you don't do anything else but that, but those 3 things, they just don't stop, okay? Those are the big ones that are gonna make the biggest bang for the buck, and so that's why you start with these at the very beginning. Okay, enough said. I don't do that anymore. That's not my issue, but for sure, I was self-sabotaging by not posting like I said I was going to do, and if you look at all the X's on my calendar for all the other habits that I'm creating around body and my relationship, like, easy. Like, I've got between 3 and 5 every single week, which is awesome for my first month in here, but posting on social media, I literally have 3, and as I'm recording this, we are to the very, very end of January, so of all the 31 days in January, 3. Y'all, that is self-sabotage, that is the same as me, like, eating food or drinking, right? It's the thing that you're doing that is keeping you stuck. It is the thing that you are doing that is self-sabotaging, okay? And so I wanna walk you through how to work with the actual emotions in the way that I just did. There's so many ways that we do it with Hello Body Freedom clients, but this is what worked for me. Number 1, I just stopped trying to fight it because clearly the more I kept trying to do it, the more blocks that were coming up. The more blocks that were coming up, I just stopped and I just let myself feel. And what ended up happening is that I just started bawling. It was so obvious that something wasn't right. And then my softness and kindness to myself went away. I just started getting angry at myself, which was awful. It's one of the first things I teach my clients is you got to be nice to yourself. You got to be nice to yourself. But I couldn't get out of it. And so the next step that I did is I decided to journal. I decided to open up my journal, this thing right here, if you were watching on YouTube or anything, and I decided to write and write as this part. And this is an important thing. I wasn't trying to talk myself out of all the blocks I was feeling. I just decided to write and write like, what's your problem? You can't get this down. You keep saying you want this, but you're not doing it. And it just kept going and going. And I just kept crying and crying. And then the next part, which is very important because we also tell our Hello Body Freedom clients to do exactly what I did. And so I'm telling you to do it, is I want you to know I have a coach and I have a therapist. And for sure, I got help. I needed help, okay? And I actually had a session that afternoon, like, later that afternoon after this whole thing had transpired. I was like, "Thank." Now in Hello Body Freedom, we have a walkie-talkie app where even if you don't have a session scheduled, you can just reach out 24/7. It's pretty epic, so that way you can get the help you need in that moment. But anyhow, so I did. And ultimately, I don't think I would have been able to get past it in that moment, had I not had somebody there to hold my hand. And ultimately, what she did is she showed me that this block, and here's the hard thing. I literally know this for myself. I teach it inside of Hello Body Freedom. And so when I'm having this session, the things that she was saying out of her mouth, it just sounded like something I would say to my clients, which made me cry even harder because then I had the thought, right? None of this is in alignment with my future self, by the way. I am lost in my self pity. And the thought was like, wow, you teach this to people and you can't even do it for yourself. What's your problem? And then I just kept going. Oh, it was so hard. So luckily, I was able to talk it out and cry it out with a professional, and it was pretty powerful. So, what she said to me, which I knew it, but I couldn't access it. And that's the hard part, right? The hard part is when you are in that self sabotaging place, you might know what to do, but it's really hard to access that sometimes, right? So, in order to truly have a quantum leap year, you're going to have to figure out how to access that part. And I think this is where help and support comes into play for sure. This is why we need help. We don't need help when things are going good, y'all. It can be wonderful to have support when things are going good. But most of us need help when shit's just hitting the fan and we're about to eat ourselves into oblivion or continually self sabotage ourselves in whatever way that we're self sabotaging. And so she really helped me see that this block that I was having was not the enemy, but in actuality was trying to keep me safe and alive. If we just reverse back to the beginning of this podcast, and was in charge, was clearly in charge in the moment, right? My higher self, the one that is my future self, the one that is in charge, the one that needs to be driving the car, right? Was not driving the car. This really wounded older part of me, this part that's angry and bitter, trying to keep me safe, trying to keep me alive, so scared to hit publish on a social media post. And then my future, there's a part of me that's, what's your fucking problem? You've done it all the time. That's not helpful. Not helpful. I had to get to a place of recognizing, and through a lot of talk, we came to the realization that this was like real ancient, like wounded inner child energy. So scared to show up, so scared to take steps forward, so scared of everything. And my wounded inner child, I don't talk about this hardly at all, but I had a surgery, an emergency surgery. And I don't think it was when I was 6 months old, but it was somewhere between 6 and 9 months, according to my mother. And I would have died without the surgery. And I don't have any memories of the surgery. I just have a scar. It looks like I had a C-section, but I did not. I was just somewhere between 6 and 9 months old. And that is trauma, by the way. Any surgery you have, even if it's really good for you and life savings, like your body remembers. It is an absolute trauma. And then from there, I was a very sick child. I was in and out of hospitals from 0 to 5. Like, what I mainly remember in my life is just spending epic amounts of time in doctor's offices and in hospitals over and over again. It was just like, oh my God. I didn't quite understand why. I'm really young. So I had a lot of trauma. And that's not even including my parents' divorce. It's not including all the other shit, right? All the things, right? But ultimately, there really is a wounded inner child in me that is fucking scared. Okay. And I was able to tap into that with help, and I was able to soften and cry and just feel what I was feeling. And because I've done so much work on that step 3, which is learning how to tolerate that inner experience and be with, then I had a most epically relaxing weekend. It was just really powerful. And now I can't believe it. It was just what I needed. It was what felt like self sabotage. Now, you either can let that continue to go, or you can do the real work of really integrating this piece, right? The idea is, you want to think about your higher self, your future self is like driving the car, right? But you have all these other parts of you, and some of them are shitty self-sabotaging parts. Some of them are wounded inner child parts that show up and wreak havoc in your life. And the way that they do it, if you can imagine, it would be like handing your keys over to an 8-year-old. Or in this case, this was probably like my 4 or 5-year-old self, right? It would be like me having a 4 or 5-year-old going, "Here, baby, here are the keys. No, you get to drive. You drive us wherever you want." That's ridiculous, but that's what happens. It's literally like the wounded part of me is running my life. And it required help and support to get me to get to this other place where my higher self, focused and acting as my future self, is in place. So that is my update on my quantum year at leap year and where I'm at, and ultimately how to handle the inevitable emotional meltdowns that will come, because these older parts of you are just doing the best that they can with what they have. They have not been healed. They are still wounded. And as far as they're concerned, you need to stay safe and alive. And as far as they're concerned, there being these other parts of you, you are safe and alive, even if you're 100 pounds overweight, even if you have prediabetes, even if you've got leaky gut, even if like you can't sleep for shit, even like all of the rate, even if you're eating fast food every day, this part knows that the status quo in this moment, you're safe and alive. So it's going to do everything it can to keep you safe and alive. All right. So moving into a quantum leap year is real fucking business. It really is like the way that we get to the other side. And yeah, understanding that really matters. And the truth of the matter is that for you to have this quantum leap year with like your own health and your weight loss journey, it literally is a reclamation of your birthright to your infinite levels of health and living in a body that is more alive and vibrant and fit and energetic than you could ever imagine. It literally means finally getting out of your own way, the way I just shared with you, right? Rewiring all of these archaic beliefs about yourself, right? These like inner child wounds. Whenever your inner child, and I know my inner 12-year-old, inner 8-year-old used to drive the car all the time about what I was eating. It looked like a 6-year-old was in charge of my diet for pretty much all of my 20s and half of my 30s. It's like, what the F, man, right? No, like that's part of the problem. The comfort eating, the stress eating, the anxious eating, right? We've got to figure out how to get out of our own way and rewire these archaic beliefs that we have around our body and literally expand your capacity to feel good as your body gets healthier, as your emotions become more regulated, as you're able to tolerate them more, and your mindset starts to match how good you keep feeling, right? Like the deal is you already are this woman. You might not feel it right now, but the problem is that you just completely forgot your true nature. Okay. Somewhere along the way between your mama's womb and today, you literally gave your power away, right? And I don't think it's your fault. You were just taught. You were likely taught in ways that you have let go of your power, right? You were probably taught to clean your plate and you had no power. You literally had no power in that moment. And then what do you do now? You just clean your plate as if you have no other option. And that's just not true. It's just not true. You start to believe these lies as truth. And that's just not how it rolls. And then you start to believe the lies that you can't feel good and that you aren't vibrant. And I guess this is just the way that life is going to be. And that's just bullshit. It's a blatant lie. And then you get told these lies over and over again with a toxic culture that basically says you can never be skinny enough. And ultimately is a multi-billion-dollar industry that only exists because you gain the weight back, because you keep entering the cycles of diet culture. It's a problem, but it's also not your fault. And, what you have learned and what I have learned can be unlearned. And what has been lost inside of you can be found again. And this is the sovereignty and authority over your body story. And you literally get to reclaim this over and over again. Okay. Which is what I'm here to help you with. It's what we do inside of Hello Body Freedom for sure. Even though this power has always belonged to you, right? You just gave it away. Okay. So having a quantum leap year with your health and with your weight loss journey, it literally is about remembering who the fuck you are. All right. So, what is a quantum leap year with your health and your weight loss? What is that? Okay. It literally is you finally getting out of your own way. It is rewiring archaic beliefs about your body. It is expanding your capacity to feel good in your body. As things start feeling good, there comes that self-sabotage. No. It is literally getting to a place with your emotions and your emotional life and your inner experience that you start to be able to tolerate, that you start to be able to shift and change and process like I did last Friday. And all of a sudden, the next thing, your emotional world matches this epic mindset world of yours, which matches how freaking good you feel. And this is what it means. Okay. It is not about losing weight so fast that you end up gaining it back again. Y'all, that is a surefire way to mess this whole thing up. It is not about losing 100 pounds in 6 months. That would be a disaster, actually. Physiologically, guaranteed to gain the weight back. Okay. It's when you make a decision, even though it hasn't worked for you in the past, even though maybe you lost some weight and you gained it back, even though you used to be healthy, but now you're not, even if you've never truly felt good in your body. I have a lot of clients that have felt that before as well, right? and you don't even have a baseline that you know of because you haven't experienced it. Or you did get there and now you're back where you started. Like these are all examples of health and body journeys that I hear about every single day. Even though what the reality you might be experiencing right now, what happens is you decide no more. I am deciding to reclaim my power and make this the year that I actually reach my goals. And this requires working with your thoughts, your mindset. This requires working with your emotions and your ability to have a more regulated inner experience and creating behaviors that habit stack in the right direction that move you towards sustainability over and over again. And that is what it means to have a quantum leap year. It means that you are not just losing weight fast. I talked to a woman just 2 months ago who lost 100 pounds in 8 months. She said it was 8 months. After that, she'd gained it all back plus another 20 pounds. Like, fuck that. No. This is about sustainability. This is about expanding your capacity to hold even the good stuff, to feel so good in your body and know it as truth down in your bones. Changes your levels of self esteem, of confidence, of worthiness, of deservingness. This is not just how epic it feels to go shopping for clothes that make you feel freaking great. It is about changing you from the inside out in a way where you are truly living in alignment with that future self. And that is what we are doing inside of a quantum leap year. So if that is something that you want, I have all the 10 pieces of it right here and how you too can have your quantum leap year. So all you have to do is leave in the comments, quantum leap, leave it in the comments, drop me a DM. If you don't even know what I mean, you just hop on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok and just go into the DMs wherever you're at, wherever you get all my fun stuff from. Just type in quantum year and I will send you the link immediately. And this link is going to detail step by step how we make this happen. All right, my friends. Yay. Thank you so much for sticking around. That was so much fun. All right. Have an epic, epic, epic rest of your day. I hope that you feel good. I hope this served you. And I am so excited to see you and having the most quantum year. Come have a quantum leap year with me. I am ready for it. You're ready for it. Let's knock this out of the park. Bye, everybody.